D.Va is a fantastic tank in Overwatch 2 after the buff she's gotten upon the release of the game. With an increased ability to survive within teamfights and an increased potential in her burst damage, D.Va has become a powerful tank who can hold down the front line, apply great pressure whilst also excelling at her original duty, which is peeling for her team. In case you don't know what that means, it means it's being able to look out for your teammate who might need help, defending them from danger, and either pressuring away aggressive enemy players or outright eliminating them altogether. A quick disclaimer before we move on with the video: going forward with these best hero guide videos, due to the increasing count of new players joining Overwatch, I've decided I will do my best to simplify these videos so it's a lot easier to digest as a new or returning player, so you can get started at getting the most maximum value with the hero itself. For more in-depth explanations on how to use the hero even more effectively within different team comps and all that type of stuff, you should drop by my live streams that happen on this channel as well as my Twitch channel that you can find within the description box. With that stated, let's get started with the video. I'm not going to go through the basics of the hero kit because I think we're all familiar with it. Rather, I'm going to go straight ahead and explain how to make the best use of them instead. All three parts of her kit can be used in an aggressive or defensive manner. Understanding when to do what is going to be really important, as that is what makes a good D.Va player different from a great D.Va player. And I'll do my best to showcase footage of various different scenarios as well. We will be focusing on learning how to attack or retake a point, defend and control space with her, and most importantly, how to peel for your backline or any teammate that needs you to fly in and help fend off a target or even eliminate an aggressive, overextending enemy player. To start us off, I want to teach people how to attack with D.Va in an Overwatch 2 setting of 5v5. To illustrate my points and everything, I've got this footage over here of me playing D.Va on Busan. The first important tip that I want to give to players is no matter whether you're attacking or defending, D.Va has infinite range on her primary fire, and you can use that to mark or tag enemies to quickly see their HP bars. This is important because this gives you information that can dictate your next play. In this case over here, all I was trying to do in the team fight was trying to take the attention off of my teammates and keep it upon myself, because it's a lot harder for them to kill me than it is to kill my teammates. Alongside that, I was waiting for an opportunity to present itself where I could quickly collapse onto an enemy player, delete them from the game, and then continue with the snowball effect. That is exactly what happens over here. I'm going to replay it in slow-mo. I was able to scout out the fact that the enemy Ana actually had gotten antied, and me and my Genji were able to coordinate a dive, delete her, and then move on to the next target. So this is what you're trying to look for with D.Va during the attacking phases or retaking the point from the enemy team, is that you want to try and see if you can find and isolate a target. Now, this is in the scenario that the fight is working in your favor and the enemy team is the one that's pushing back because they feel like, oh damn, something's happening to us, we need to take this slow, we need to walk back. So in this case, you can actually play aggressive with D.Va and try to isolate somebody who's a little bit, positioned away, or you can use her boosters to boop them into a scenario where it works out in your favor, isolate the target, delete them, and then move on to the next target, as you see again in the footage in front of you right now. Another teamfight to look at is this one over here, where the enemy had captured the point and pressure is on us to start performing. Our Ana was kind of separated, and I was able to make it in time to save her and take the attention off of her and onto me. Because of this, because our Ana was able to live, she was able to farm nano off of me and then give it to our Tracer, who started applying pressure to the enemy team. Because I've identified that the enemy team is now feeling pressured, as you can see that they are pushing away, it's now time for me to start going in and trying to secure a kill. So I can, in the gameplay, see all their HP bars, and I identified who I need to go on to start confirming some kills. I actually wasn't confident that we might have won that team fight because I was anticipating that maybe the Zarya would grab. So I quickly D.Va bombed as a way to just kind of force them back as much as possible. And luckily enough, I was even able to get some damage with the mech recall onto Zarya, confirm the kill, and then just keep it moving from that point to completely secure the point itself. Another quick side tip that I want to share really quickly is that because tanks have become so tanky and they just stay alive for so long, it's better as a tank that you just try to identify one of the squishies that is low and then just quickly jump on them, delete them, and keep it moving. As you saw in that team fight, I didn't prioritize the Zarya. First of all, she's my hard counter, and more often than not, she can win that duel unless I've been able to bait out the cooldowns as best as possible. So what I did was I just kind of ignored her and did my best to quickly just confirm kills on targets that were vulnerable before I decided to give her any attention. And in the off chance that Zarya pays attention to me, it's really easy for my teammates to start running after her and bursting her down. So what do you not do on attack or defense with D.Va? And the logic is pretty much the same thing. Don't try to overextend and try to get a greedy pick on a target that you think is kind of separated, because if you kind of try to do that and you don't really have any help or some form of like pressure that's coming with you, what's going to happen is that the enemy team will be able to isolate you into a situation where they demech you, eliminate you, and then start snowballing into your enemy team. Just remember that. Be very careful, otherwise you're going to end up like me in this clip over here, which I did on purpose so I could prove my point. So now the question becomes, well, how do you defend with D.Va? The logic's pretty much the same thing, except you have to be a lot more reserved and a lot more patient because, again, as we saw in the clip over there before, all it takes is one wrong mistake for the enemy to de-mech you, and that basically costs you the entire team fight just because of how important tanks are just in general in an Overwatch setting. Even in 5v5, in my opinion, they're still the most powerful role and they still control the entire pacing of the game. So the key to being really good with D.Va on defense pretty much comes down to how well you can use your defense matrix. Remember, you can face tank a lot of damage, and because your supports will most likely always be behind you anyway, they'll be able to quickly, heal up that damage, and you can reserve your defense matrix for when a team fight starts. Try not to waste defense matrix before a team fight can even start, because by the point a team fight happens, you're not going to have defense matrix to mitigate certain cooldowns or even like aggressive pushes from the enemy that might do a lot of damage to you and your teammates. And what's going to happen is that you're just going to end up getting demeched and deleted, and then they're just going to win the game. Try to face tank a lot of damage, your healers will heal you up, and then as the enemy starts to close in, then you can start using your defense matrix to either peel for your supports. If there's a flanker on them, you can use it to set up a teammate that wants to go in. You can use it for yourself to draw out a duel with another tank. And just remember to do your level best to try and keep the attention on you, because that's pretty much like a way that D.Va kind of silent carries the game, that right now she's so tanky that she can just control the pacing because, people are just obsessed with shooting tanks rather than trying to, confirm some kills on squishies. So to make aggressive plays with D.Va on defense, you need to just kind of wait until maybe a DPS gets a pick or two, or you see an opportunity to quickly zoom in, confirm a kill, and very quickly come back to your team. Another tip just in general for tank players is that if the enemy tank kind of, is deleted early on in the team fight, then it allows you as a solo tank player to go and play aggressive. Because the enemy team lacks a tank, you are pretty much in open space to kind of do whatever you want, but, just be sure that your team's in a good spot to follow up with you and not in a spot where they might be getting pressured, because it might just end up backfiring. Also, just because the enemy team loses their tank doesn't mean that you overextend into their backline. The same thing's going to happen where you end up getting demeched. So again, just a quick little side note before we move on to talking about how to use D.Va Bomb effectively. So now let's talk about the different ways to use D.Va Bomb. There's actually a handful of ways to use D.Va Bomb for many different purposes. D.Va Bomb can be used to secure kills. It can be used to zone enemies out to give yourself and your team some breathing room and hopefully some space to take so that the fight can be turned in your favor. And it can also be used to stall out points. The different ways D.Va Bombs can be used are the following. You can use your boosters and then press Q to throw D.Va Bomb in a forward-facing angle. You can look at a 45 upwards degree angle to throw D.Va Bomb in that arc. You can also use D.Va Bomb in an upwards 90 degree facing angle. This is really good to stall out points because D.Va Bomb will pretty much just cover that whole area and then explode on the spot where you started when it lands down. And then you can use D.Va Bomb facing a downwards 90 degree angle. It's going to carry some momentum from the flight, but it won't go too far, but hopefully again it gives you enough space and some breathing room. And then of course there's the normal way of using D.Va Bomb is just by pressing Q and she drops it on the spot. I don't think I need to showcase that as everybody knows that by now. Like I said, I'm not going to go into a lot of depth about how to use D.Va Bombs. We can save that for a future video because I'll need to cover different maps and angles and what you're trying to do with the D.Va Bomb, how to know when you're looking for an aggressive D.Va Bomb or you should be using it to stall out a point. But I think, if you're playing Overwatch on a general basis, then you probably have an idea of how to do these things. Again, D.Va Bomb is a great ultimate that can be used to zone people out. It can be used to set up your next plays. It can be used to set up plays for your team. You can use it to stall out objectives. So keep these things in the back of your mind. And, before you know it, you're actually going to become really good at D.Va. So remember, just some quick tips before we end this video. Most important tips that I can share for D.Va is that be sure to have the mindset to peel for your team a lot more than play aggressive. Only play aggressive when an opportunity presents itself, when you can see that somebody has gone low after you've tagged and marked different characters. Be sure to try and pressure hit scan players a lot. That duel favors D.Va more than anything. Actually, D.Va is really good in pretty much most of her duels right now against the whole roster, with the certain exceptions probably being a really good Sombra, Tracer, or a good Zarya player. If you can bait out Zarya's cooldowns, you can actually completely burst her down without a problem, but do be careful. She can hard counter you really well. Second most important thing is that do pay attention to enemies that are playing a bit overly aggressive. Usually what this means is that they're looking to use their ults. As you can see over here, a niche interaction that I've personally noticed that I've gotten really good at to eating grabs with defense matrix is that Zaryas will start to walk up and most importantly aim their gun downwards. When this is happening, you know a grab is coming up and you need to do your best to anticipate it and eat it with defense matrix, as I did over here. Another example is this over here where the Pharah is kind of hovering in, just kind of keeping herself a little bit closer to the ground. What this means is that She's trying to give herself an angle where her barrage can connect quickly. So what I did was I quickly get into position where I could punish her, and that's exactly what happened. So these are two of the most important tips that I can share. A quick refresher to the previous tips that I did before we end this video is that don't overextend regardless of whether you're on attack or defense. Do hold different spaces of high ground. Do take a lot of space. Make sure you're in the line of sight of your healers. Follow up with your DPS on the people that they've pressured, or if you can find an angle where you've noticed somebody is low, quickly zoom in, confirm the kill, and get out. But that does not mean you stay in that position or you continuously overextend in every team fight and eventually get yourself caught, and maybe you just end up becoming a great way for the enemy team to start farming ultimates off of you. So these are some of my tips for D.Va for beginners. Again, this is more guided towards beginners rather than veterans. I will be covering the stuff regarding bomb in future videos and more advanced D.Va stuff later on, but first I want to get out these more simpler, best guides for beginners and everything, hopefully to get everybody comfortable with the hero and start playing them at a level where they can find some value and start, experimenting by themselves. Now, with that being said, that's it for this video. If you enjoy this type of content and you want more educational stuff, there's more videos coming in the future, hopefully tomorrow or the day after. I am still recovering from my sickness, so hopefully, we can start doing more of this type of educational content and more live streams. And I'd love to see you guys. Again, free ways to support the channel are hitting like or subscribe. And if you do, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I will see you guys in the next one.